He has been a straight A student since primary school. He graduated from Victoria Junior College as the top second student. And he also received a scholarship to Duke University, which is one of the top universities in America. And catch this, he actually got a GPA of 3.98 upon 4 with first class honors. So walk us a little bit through your journey. You have been basically a straight A student since primary school. Did you always want to be a straight A student all the way from the beginning? When did it start?
Yeah, I would say right from primary school,
Okay.
I was very fixed and fixated on this idea of being a straight A student. And I enjoyed that feeling of being accomplished or being top of the class or doing really well in a test or an exam. And I did find satisfaction in that. But now I realize that was kind of a shallow kind of satisfaction. And I was very caught up trying to achieve more, trying to gain more acceptance, gain more approval from other people. And one thing that really was the turning point for me was after years of working really hard, I eventually got an offer for an overseas scholarship. That's when I really began to ask myself, what is the purpose of all this striving for more achievements, for racking up more accolades, all this kind of pursuits that really it needs to be purpose-driven rather than performance-driven.
What do you think was your why for studying or wanting to excel, Daniel?
For me, my mission statement is to empower others with the mindset and methods to lead a meaningful and marvelous life. And when I wrote that mission statement down, it really helped me to know why I was doing all these things. And it's really no longer just about your academics, it's no longer just about your career if you're a career person, but really it's about this journey in life where it's about leading a life, a meaningful life that you can be proud of. It's about making a difference in the lives of others and adding value to other people. And I think one of the primary things you need to do as a student is to learn to take full responsibility for your education. And there's so much information available on the internet. There are websites like Coursera and Udacity where people put full-length videos, tutorials of world-class university professors giving lectures and all. And you shouldn't just be going to school to wait for your teachers or your professors to spoon-feed you and tell you what's coming out in the next test or the next exam, which I know I went through as a student.
Let's say the viewers viewing this, they are all first year students in university. They want to be the top in their school or in their cohort. What advice would you give for them in excelling in the academics?
One thing I tell students and I encourage them to do is that when they feel distracted, let's say you have the sudden urge to go on Facebook, just take a deep breath, just breathe in for 2 seconds and breathe out for 2 seconds. Most of the time that urge will pass you by. So if you feel that one deep breath isn't enough, do it twice. And usually that urge to go on Facebook, to go on Twitter, to go on YouTube, or to check your email even, that urge will often pass you by. One very practical tip I have for students is that they need to pre-commit. So let's say you know that your phone is always a distraction to you and you're always distracted by text messaging, WhatsApp messages, Facebook on your phone. Then before you start your study session, why don't you put your phone on silent mode and put it across from you at the other end of the room, and that makes it much less likely that you're going to be distracted in the middle of your session. Just by doing this, it's much more likely that you'll be able to stay focused.
Okay, I like the idea of pre-committing, and in a way it's sort of like removing the productivity pit stops. Like if you already know that the internet is going to be a distraction, then remove that pit stop from the onset so that you can then fully focus on the studying. In a way, it's like time boxing. Like you're setting aside that amount of time for just purely studying in that time. So how about when it comes to, say, the lectures or the seminars itself? Did you ever do anything before the classes to prepare? Like, would you make sure that you study the material before you attend the class so that you can absorb fully during the class?
Yeah, I think that's definitely a great idea to review the material. Do a brief, like a skim, quick read through of the material that the teacher or the professor covered in the previous class. And one tip I have for students is that there's this thing called the forgetting curve. Scientists have done a lot of research for when the most important time is for you to review new information that you learn. The key times to review the new information that you learn is 1 day after you learn it, within 1 day, then 3 days later, then 7 days later, and then 21 days later. And by that time, that information is almost permanently stored in your long-term memory. And just to make it clear, these reviews are not full reviews, because you can think to yourself and you can imagine if you're reviewing it 1 day later, 3 days later, 7 days later, 21 days later, you'll be reviewing things non-stop.
Right.
But really, it's just a review of the key information and the key formulas.
I like that idea a lot, and in fact something that I did during university which really helped me was after I finished the chapter of the textbook, I would then draw a mind map which links the key concepts and the key ideas, the terminologies, the definitions and the formulas and everything. And the mind map is sort of like my blueprint for the whole chapter, and after that I never touch the textbook ever again, and if I ever want to do like a review, I would then look at the mind map, so that would then come in handy for the 1, 3, 7, 21 day review. And I like what you said about shifting the memory from short-term to long-term memory, because whenever our mind learns something new, it's sort of like two neurons forming a new link, and if you want to make them a permanent memory, you need to keep reinforcing that link. And if you just keep reviewing something, that link becomes stronger and stronger, such that it becomes a subconscious part of your memory itself, almost. Something which I also read before, which is about the learning curve. There's different ways of learning. You can learn by reading, passive reading, you can learn by hearing, you can learn by reading and hearing, and you can also learn by interaction. And it is said that when you engage, participate, interact, you actually get the most learning out of that session itself. Do you think that that's true?
Yes, I completely agree. And I think one practical way you can put that into practice is that you can do your homework assignment immediately after you've learned that topic, because I know a lot of students, procrastination is a problem for all of us, but as you said, you need to form these connections in your brain and you need to reinforce them. So if you wait for a week or 2 weeks before doing your homework on that topic that you've learned, by then those connections are already weakened. So like you said, it's much more helpful to learn something by doing questions, by participating, rather than just by hearing the professor or the teacher talk about the topic.
Were you a highly participative student in school?
Yeah, so I would say that was one thing that helped me a lot. I would try to do the homework assignment as quickly as possible after learning that topic, so that the information is still fresh in your mind. Things like forming study groups so you can participate, and I think a very helpful thing is that you can even teach people, your friends who have questions. Once you're able to teach something to someone, then it proves that you have really understood those concepts and understood what you're supposed to learn.
And it is said that the best way to learn is really just to teach, because when you teach someone, that means you truly understand the concept itself.
Yes, definitely. One of the most helpful things for me was, if I had a question, to immediately clarify it with the professor or the teacher at the end of the lesson. And it saved me hours of struggling on my own, reading the textbook, reading the notes, to try and figure it out on my own.
I totally love what you're saying, and I think one key point that strikes out to me is the importance of immediacy. You talked about asking questions right away when you have the questions, reviewing the materials immediately after the class, and that's something I personally subscribe as well when I was in school. Before the class itself, I would actually review the materials for that class so that I would know what question to ask or what were the key things that I had queries about, and I can immediately clarify during the class, because I feel like a lot of the procrastination or the barriers in studying is when we just have these questions in our mind that we leave unanswered, and that then builds up a huge barrier, and it becomes more and more intimidating by the day when we keep putting it off, and that's totally not necessary. If you have the questions, just ask them immediately in class. Like you said, professors are always so willing to help us. And then after the class itself, do the homework. In fact, sometimes I would do the homework as the teacher was teaching them.
Wow.
And then that just saved me the time of having to do it later on.
Yeah, definitely. And once you turn that into a habit, it no longer becomes this struggle of, oh, I have to do my homework. It's just a habit, and once it's part of a system that you have in your life, then it's just something you do because it's the right thing to do, but also because it's part of this habit that you formed.
So when you achieved your final GPA, which is 3.98 upon 4, did you expect that?
Well, I guess, especially in the US system, it's very progressive, so I knew that I was doing well
You
up
saw it
until my
coming?
final. Yeah.
Did you set yourself out to achieve that at the beginning of when you started university, like a 4 upon 4 GPA?
No, not really. I mean, to me, it was just about trying my best and pursuing excellence in every class that I took. So I try my best to live that out every day and pursuing excellence in academics when I was in university.
I love that you are saying you achieved the high GPA, not necessarily because you set that goal in the onset, but because you were just consistently striving to be your best in every single class, and then eventually that led you to that goal.
Yeah, definitely. It's not about trying to be better than other people. It's really about running your own race. And sometimes when you think of a race, or when you think of the finishing line, or you think of the word winner, you tend to think of the winner as the person who crosses the finishing line first. But I want to redefine that for all of us, so that we can think of a winner as the person who finishes well, not the person who finishes first. And I think finishing well is about pursuing excellence and about being better than who you were yesterday and being the best that you can be. Society has such a narrow definition of success, and people like LeBron James or Mother Teresa or Steve Jobs, people like that are considered to be successes in their respective fields.
Definitely.
But how many people can there be who are like Mother Teresa or Steve Jobs or LeBron James? Only 0.1% of the world, maybe. Does that mean that the other 99.9% of people are failures? No, it can't be, right? You can't resign yourself to that fact. So it means that you need to redefine what success really means to yourself.
Right, and the note to the students here is that while you should continue striving for excellence in your academics and your studies, don't get over obsessed with that number on the paper. Think about your life holistically, think about what your purpose is, your purpose for studying, what you want to achieve.
Thanks for watching. Click the link in the description to receive our free weekly newspaper with college admissions advice that is relevant to you.